Okay. Hi, everyone. Natalie or Dr. Nats here with the beautiful Amanda, kinesiologist and healer extraordinaire with the scientist healer. And today we thought we'd talk about our experiences of the digestive system or your guts when doing our healing work and more of the metaphysics or the spiritual side that we've discovered correlates with some of the physical symptoms. And so we're not going to claim that one thing equals the other thing or one thing causes the other thing. We're just sharing our experiences for educational purposes and interest.
Yes.
Well, here we go.
Here we go.
So, where to begin? The digestive system. Well, I guess when we talk about digestive system, we're referring to the entry of food into the mouth, the teeth, the tongue, the gums, the hangy ball thing in the back. Even the pharynx, the esophagus into the stomach, the duodenum, the small and large intestines, and the colon, the rectum. And that also, for me, also includes the accessory organs. So the pancreas, the liver, the gallbladder, spleens, all the things that are involved or somewhat involved in supporting digestion, the appendix too, indirectly. So where do we start?
Where do we start? I'm going to open with a bit of an interesting metaphysical statement that I often share with clients.
Do it.
Okay, so this is that we don't just digest food, we also digest emotions and experiences. And like we do with food, we either digest it well or we don't.
Mm.
And part of digestion is about absorption, part of it's about breaking down the things that we're digesting, and then being able to use the nutrients as well, and then eliminate what we no longer need.
Yes, very well summed up. Yeah, it's the same thing. We don't just digest food, we digest life. Yeah. We digest information, we digest experiences, emotions, and we have emotional indigestion a lot of the time. Mm-hmm. And I think that can, over time, interfere with the physical digestion process.
Correct.
And then that can translate into certain foods that cause reactions or sensitivity because there's been so much damage to the physical structure that they're no longer a tight connected unit that function as one. And there's just too many open spaces or unsealed spaces when they should be sealed. So things that shouldn't come in do, and things that shouldn't go out do. So, yeah.
And there can also be related issues that impact our physical digestion as well as our emotional energetic digestion. So whether we're talking about the basics like not getting the proper sleep or not eating the right foods, just kind of randomly eating whatever comes our way. And also, when we let our cycles of eating and digesting become an unhealthy habit, all of these things can impact our digestion, creating blockages and plaque and, trouble issues for us.
Yeah.
That can be the case in terms of emotionally and metaphysically. That can be things like anxiety, worry, stress patterns that impact both our physical digestion and our emotional digestion.
Yes. Great one. Yeah. So I think what I've noticed the most with myself as well as with the people I've worked with is the reluctance to feel the really negative or uncomfortable emotions. I mean, why would we be jumping for joy, wanting to experience disappointment and have, to really feel disappointment when we do everything in our power to avoid it or suppress it? So where's the chocolate? Where's the stimulants? Where's the shopping? I need shoes. So I think that can create a problem because we're not allowing our body to absorb what it needs from that vibration or that experience. And I think over time it causes a buildup and, again, damage in the physical structures because everything that is manifest in the physical world is, represented in a higher dimension. So from our soul, energy, body, emotional state. So somewhere in there is the root cause or a source of some of this physical upset. And So when we can't deal with sadness, well, sadness stays, it lingers when it's supposed to move through us, and it can be like a clogger, or it can prevent the excretion from our cells of the metabolic products that we don't need. And so we get this kind of clog and this, what's the word? Not swelling, but what's the word?
Bloating?
Thank you, bloating.
Just
Yeah.
but okay.
Yeah, you're reading. We're one. We're merged. And so it's this inability to digest the lower vibrations, even though the lower vibrations are also important for us to experience in order to understand or access more of the higher vibrations. Because it's all divine. It's all required. And I think one of the culprits for this cause is the positive psychology movement, or the positive thinking movement, not psychology, but the positive thinking that we should always feel good and we should do everything in our power to feel good. And I think there's a difference between feeling good.
It helps ourselves to always feel happy.
Yeah. And I think there's a difference between feeling good, the feeling of good, and being the vibration, the higher vibration. They're two separate things. And you can still feel crap, but be in a vibration of peace. You just don't live in crap. You live in peace, but you're experiencing the crap knowing that peace is there.
Absolutely.
So,
yeah, sorry,
no, go on. I've talked enough.
Yeah, because it's also this thing, right, where if you're with that belief that I must always try to strive to be happy, then you're really denying yourself that experience that needs to be processed and released. And then it basically gets diverted to wherever in the body is, say, one of your spaces for storing stuff, right?
Yeah.
And that can look like inflammation in the body. It can look like, being overweight. It can look like getting unwell, immune system health.
Yeah.
All of these different ways that our, people pretty much know. It's funny when we start talking about metaphysics. Most people will accept that getting a cold can be the product of overwork or stress. Too much stress, too much working, not enough sleeping, you'll get a cold. Yeah. So there's a really basic acknowledgement of the metaphysics. But once you start to kind of expand out beyond that concept of a cold, people go, oh, really? No, not really. Surely not. But truthfully, it's the same thing to say, well, if you're not able to process your emotional stuff, it doesn't just vanish. It has to exist somewhere on an energetic level within your body, within the energy of your body.
Yeah. What you resist persists, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So, and then I think as it persists, it can cause damage to the actual physical structures. And it's not only the metaphysics, it's also how we eat. I mean, I've been learning a lot from my colleague who's an Ayurvedic doctor in India. He's phenomenal, and he's just published a book on water called Water, Elixir or Poison, and how I've realized how we misuse water in the Western world because there's this belief that we need to be drinking a lot of it. And maybe that's true for some people, but I don't think it's true for most people. I think drink when you're thirsty, but the quantity that you drink while you're eating or after you're eating, while you're digesting, can be a problem if you're doing too much, because you're actually dousing or getting rid of the fire, the digestive enzymes, which are known as Agni, as fire. So you're actually putting out the fire that's required for digestion. And so what you're doing is pushing undigested food down into your system through your digestive tract, and your cells can't deal with that.
Yeah, they can't absorb the nutrients they need.
No. And so you're flooding the area, and from this belief that we have toxins and we need to flood the toxins out of our system.
And detox ourselves.
But our body does that. Our body's actually okay with that. I think our body knows how to do that because it's inundated with shitloads of, toxic pollutants and stuff all the time. So I think the body, we have to give it some credit that it knows what to do. Maybe there's some parts that are not as efficient, but then I think we can boost it with the way we eat, how we breathe, how we prepare ourselves just to eat. I mean, you and I both consecrate our food. We always bless our food before we eat it. That does something. That does not only does something energetically to what we're going to eat, but it's also our intention in eating, that we have this sort of presence or mindfulness as we're doing it. We're not kind of wolfing it down hungrily, that there's something, we're taking some time, or even, using hands or mudras. They're supposed to stimulate the digestive enzymes, or to secrete them, your stomach to secrete them. And so there's different, so much wisdom in some of these ancient traditions. So we turn to traditional Chinese medicine or Ayurveda to support the energy work, the emotional work, the spiritual work, that they're all required for gut health. And we know the gut is another brain. And when it's, stressed out, we can't make decisions. We can't do anything. Our lives are a bit up in the air. We can't trust ourselves.
Yes. Yes. And on that, there's a couple of points running through my brain there, but the first one is when you mentioned Ayurveda before, there's a sense in the, I forget my language is going now, but the in Ayurveda, like there's the different tastes, right? There's an intention to try and balance. So we're not always eating sweet. We've got sweet and salty and astringent and bitter. There's another one. I know there's another one.
Yes. Salty. I don't know.
Something. And so so the concept is that we need to spread that around. And, so one of the ways that I find a lot with clients is, when I start working with them, things like insulin tests up all the time, glucocorticoids. And it's like, and then I say to those people, how's your sweet tooth? And they say, terrible. I got a terrible sweet tooth. And so then I talk to them about the sweetness of life.
Yeah.
And so then there's this whole aspect of, well, there's just, life isn't enjoyable and life isn't sweet and it's not pleasant. And, I don't sit there and appreciate how, blessed I feel in this life. And so then it becomes a cycle of looking for that outside of ourselves. And then it's like reach for the Tim Tams and, the whatever else. Tim Tams is an Australian thing for anyone who's not watching from Australia.
Yeah. I think everyone knows about Tim Tams.
Oh, they should do, shouldn't they?
Yeah, Canadians know, I think.
And then so that was the first one, and let me see if I can think of the second one. Oh, so then we were talking about stress, right? So that actually the more we live in chronic stress, the more our digestive system is shut down, and whether that's through inappropriate eating, drinking, sleeping, resting, meditating, but also once that system starts to fire up, then we get a dysregulation in what's known as the HPA axis, the hypothalamus pituitary adrenal gland, and that can then basically the body goes, I'm in fight or flight, it's a little bit dangerous, I don't really have time to sit down and eat or digest anything properly, so we're just going to send all of our energy to the bloodstream as quickly as we can and screw the digestive system.
Yeah, screw. So you have all this undigested food sitting in your stomach.
Yeah.
Because your body's got to get the hell out of there.
Yeah. Exactly.
Yeah, and I think that leads to something I've noticed as adrenal addiction. So it's the addiction to this, like the resting state of a person is anxiety, but they don't know it as anxiety. They know that it's normal. Yeah. So, but their body's constantly feeling threat. And then there's this kind of storage of this, when you're under threat, you get angry. You feel that rage if it is built up over a period of time. And it's like, where does that rage go? Where does that emotion go? Well, we store it, I think, in our adrenals.
Yeah.
And part of our kidneys. So it's like
and inflammation. So any of the itis-y stuff. So whether that's colitis or any other sort of irritation, itis, that's like all that anger and all that unresolved emotion blowing up in the system.
So imagine you can become addicted to certain neurotransmitters, that they need to be present at a certain level in our blood so that we have this automatic impulse to be stressed out or hypervigilant in order to have that level present there. But after a while, I'm sure it gets drained. Yeah. So it's like, it's this weird kind of addiction. And what you were saying before about the sweetness of life, it was like, I wonder about people with diabetes. And so because, the sweet sugar metabolism and storage is pancreas. And if we have issues with the sweetness and preventing that sweetness from entering in because we don't have high self-worth or, healthy self-worth or even self-worth or, anything around our self-esteem, self-respect, knowing ourselves, trusting ourselves, we're going to go, no, I don't need that thing that you're giving me. That's okay. That can be like in the form of compliments. Yeah, it could be in the form of gifts. No, you keep that. It's like we're holding off on these amazing forms of abundance. And we're like saying, no, Lakshmi, I don't want your help.
And look, I had a client that came in with a fairly complex, I guess, chronic illness at one point. But our very beginning starting point was just that she wanted to be better, but she was so nauseous that she could barely eat. And so our very first point of focus was accepting nourishment, being able to accept, absorb, and use the nourishment that she was receiving from any level. And if we're not willing to accept our own nourishment, which is the form of self-love or food or affection from others or kindness or sweetness, then we can lead ourselves down this path to chronic illness, all the way from that cold, just from being a bit run down, all the way through to chronic illness.
Yeah, I mean, and you've had your bout with chronic illness and recovering from things that, you couldn't get the help that you needed from the conventional system. So you had to start to explore your options externally, and you've overcome them. So I'm sure some of them would have had some emotional contributions, and you would have had gut things and anything else.
Well, so I had Hashimoto's, which is an autoimmune disorder that affects the thyroid function and creates antibodies and inflammation in the system, which then attack the thyroid and create metabolism dysfunction.
Awesome.
Lowered energy and all of those things. And usually in there are toxin issues. It kind of becomes a cascade. So the original cause for something like Hashimoto's can be external, environmental, and it can be chronic stress and trauma, which was certainly my experience. And so when the chronic stress and trauma hits and the adrenal system, the HPA axis, gets so overburdened and is so busy trying to produce cortisol, and basically that shuts down the reproductive system, the digestive system, and there can be complicating factors such as leaky gut syndrome as a result, because of the miscibility of the stomach lining gets enhanced as a result of trying to get all the nutrients and all the energy as fast as possible into the bloodstream.
Yeah. And
so then the body just goes, you know what, I don't even know what to do anymore.
Which thing do you want me to do and when?
Yeah. So confusing. And so then you've got to, it was literally a process of going, well, what do we need to do first? And there was certainly fixing things on that foundational level of leaky gut, detoxing, taking the right supplements, exercising gently, not strenuously.
Your breathing, I'm sure you've had to.
Meditation, yoga, and also very important aspect of it in my throw the spaghetti at the wall approach was the energetic emotional component. So, we can do all of that physical healing work, but it works. Well, I won't say it needs, I'll say it works better. You get a longer lasting result when you also combine that with that energetic emotional healing component.
Yeah, but like we talked about before, it's good to know which aspect you're working on, so you can monitor your changes and go, okay, when I do these things, I get this result. So I should be able to reproduce that, or something consistent that I can track along. Because a lot, to throw the spaghetti at the wall, at some stage you start to go, okay, well, this strand, I need to look at that strand and see what's happening there.
You kind of go like this, and then you go, well, all of those ones didn't stick, so... And then you have another go with the less amount of strands. Okay, so it's these three. These are the ones I need. Yeah.
So you have a system of tracking your progress process. Totally. And the other relationship I found, especially when I was working still in scientific academia, not as a scientist, but after that, this whole thing around IBS, so irritable bowel syndrome, and a relationship with feeling powerful in life. So there was a lot of feeling of disempowerment and just kind of going with the status quo, or what, I'm just doing what is being asked of me, even though, I'm feeling like a victim here, or feeling really just powerless to make a positive change that I know I could make, but I'm fearful of doing that. I'm fearful of other people's power and my own powerfulness. So I found, and again, it's a small sample size. It's not consistent or reproducible. It's just through experience that, noticing this thing and noticing this theme. How interesting. And then when we work with that theme energetically, that issue, the irritability, seems to go away. So, and maybe long-term, short-term, because, becoming comfortable with your powerfulness is a process. It's not going to happen like this. I'm powerful now, I'm good. And I'm comfortable with how everyone uses their power. I'm not worried about abuse, misuse. No, that's never going to happen. Everyone's ethical. No, it doesn't work like that. So it's not like anything's going to remove something right away forever. We're always going to revisit things as we are growing, and they serve as catalysts to keep pushing us to discover more of that stuff. But it's nice when you can go, this thing and that issue, we can work on that.
Yes. And look, to that end, I was chatting with somebody I'm working with today to help me kind of shape some of my content to prepare for a piece of work I'm doing.
Yeah.
And I had this really cool chat with her, and usually I'm an analogy queen, but this was actually less analogy and more and trying to explain how it is that all of these components can impact our physical health, right? So we were talking about the idea of fetal programming, so that when you're in utero, there's a lot of stuff that we pick up, right? As before we even see the outside world in this lifetime. Getting a little bit out there, we can talk about ancestral inheritance, not just on the DNA level, but on the emotional level. There's a really
consciousness.
So there's a really cool documentary you can find on YouTube that's called "The Ghost in Your Genes," and it's actually like scientists that are tracking this phenomenon of trauma, like things like famine and war and things like that, and the impact of that on the physical body.
That's right. And it comes out in our healing work. You just see, there's a pattern here of feeling like I'm not going to have a meal tomorrow, that it's like a consciousness. It's a kind of thing you pick up in them. So obviously there was a time where famine was an issue. And so we need to reprogram, because it's not an issue in you anymore, but your body still believes it.
And so we get those lines, and then we get the environmental factors from the utero. So the consciousness is already there, and the mother is stressed, or the father is stressed, or there's a car accident, or even watching something, a scary movie, because the brain doesn't actually know the difference between perceived, imagined stress and real stress. Like
stress is stress.
It does the same thing. So all of those issues create emotions inside the mother, and then that's passed directly through to the fetus. And so then that energy of that is actually incorporated into every part of your development. So your organs and your bones and your blood and your hair and all of these aspects that make us into what we are as a human being. So I think we need to be careful with that, because it's not like one discrete event that's going to do something. Everything is already patterning from history. So we inherit our ability to express emotions, our ability to, we've been modeled through our parents about how they express emotions. So that would either make us do the same thing, to hold back on, crying, because I don't want someone to call me a wimp or tell me to stop crying. So I experienced that, but that's been my dad or my mom's, so it's not necessarily everything happened, because, the worst thing that we could do is make women believe that they have to be in this bubble for 9 months. No, that's not at all what I'm saying. No, it's a little bit like a sponge theory, right? And there's no control over that. So there's no way of saying women have to be in a bubble or be perfect or anything like that. But just as an aspect of this life, it's like anything we do as humans, not in the womb, right? Like we choose to be here, we choose to exist and incarnate and all of those sorts of things. And so, our choice to walk down the street, and so we don't then say, well, what are you doing walking down the street?
Well, and there's some women who know, like I know someone who's a mother of 5 children, and her 5th child was born with a hole in her heart. And she knew, and she's fine. She had surgeries, beautiful, came through. But mom knew that, because she's a lawyer. She's going through some tumultuous time in the workplace where she was trying to shelter a group of staff away from something else while she was working in it. So she took on that burden and she held it in her heart. And so she feels that was a contributing factor. And, she's a lawyer, but she's deeply spiritual and has strong faith in God for her tradition. And but for her to make that, have that association, it was logical for her. Like, this is what I was experiencing while I was pregnant with her, and this was the outcome. But thank God we can rectify this. For, modern medicine can make this happen. Thank you. So I think there's imprinting that happens, but the other thing we have to remember is that we inherit the strengths from our family as well. So even though we have these flaws or these, challenges genetically and in our consciousness, we also have the strengths that we can draw on to leverage and work with those things to help build our capacity in those areas that need it. So that's a wonderful thing about this stuff. Everything's in a balance, or we get.
Yes, I agree. And I tend to not look at those things anyway as flaws. I consider them lessons that we've chosen to learn. So we go, let's incarnate in this lifetime, and yep, I'd like to learn these lessons. Yeah, that looks like a good place to go and learn those lessons. And that means that I'm going to be faced with these challenges, and whether they're coming from this experience of life, fetal programming, past life, or ancestral stuff, or whatever, then, oh, great, look, I've got the right grab bag of stuff to help me learn the lessons that my soul wants to learn in this lifetime.
Yeah, but not everyone thinks like that. So if they're on just the physical reality level and they're dealing with their gut health issues, there's a tendency to just look for those quick solutions, and they go for this diet, that diet, and it's worked for someone else. But it's like, you have a unique composition, and you need to honor that uniqueness, and this is an opportunity for you to gain a PhD in yourself. Yes. By putting on the lab coat and going, I'm not resting. I know I'm busy and I'm stressed, but I will be a lot less stressed if I can just work this out, and it'll be challenging in the process as I work this out. But so is doing a bloody PhD, let me tell you. So at least you have your health at the end of it. PhD, you have maybe stress at the end of it. Piece of paper and a stress. Yeah.
And I need to sleep for 5 weeks. Or something. Yeah. That was very much how I felt when I was going through, the dealing with Hashimoto's. Luckily I had a friend who's a functional naturopath medicine doctor in America, and I was like, what do I do? And she said, do this, do that, do this. Don't listen to just practical, obvious, what they tell you. Do your own research.
Yeah.
So I had that advice up front, and I went, oh, right. And I didn't stop. Even when I got the funny looks from, the Western medicine practitioners, I just kept
not your problem.
Reading books, reading the websites, looking for other answers.
And I have so many, a few heroes in my life who, like you, have gone through your change, and a good friend who's also gone through the change and discovered her ability to understand herbs and flowers and know how to work with them to support people's not only gut health but gut healing, because you can't have a good diet on top of a crappy gut. You're just putting a band-aid, just a band-aid, just keeping it at bay. Work on the foods. Go back to the source. Go back to the core. How did I move so far away from my own nature? I need to discover what my nature is and was. How did my family eat? How did the generations before me eat that didn't have any of these issues? And maybe we don't have reportings of it because, they didn't have the technology or the knowledge they do now. But if they didn't complain of these gut things and now I do, well, what's changed? I need to go back and start to reproduce what they were doing and learn about gut healing methods that have been attempted and published and, that are out there. And there's a lot, and undergo a rigorous protocol and being scientific in your assessment of its effectiveness, and also considering the traditional types of lifestyles. I have such reverence for the traditional Chinese medicine as well as the Ayurvedic way of living, because it's about balance and it understands your unique composition and the foods that support, the foods that don't, and as well as the practices that support, because it's never just about food. We exist in an environment. So what's in our environment, and what are we doing in our mental environment? How are we weeding the garden of our mental landscape? What are we putting in that's beneficial? Just like there's crappy junk food, there's crappy information junk food, and we develop mental obesity, and that has an effect on our own digestion. So it's like, what are we feeding ourselves in general, and what are we depriving ourselves of that could be beneficial?
And one of the biggest, most obvious ones that I've talked about a lot, and I know a lot of people are onto this already, but just not buying into watching the news cycle. I mean, the news cycle is there predominantly to feed us fear.
Just haven't watched the news in years.
So there's the
bad news show.
Yeah, the nightly, daily news, and whether it's being vapid and like pretentious and silly, or whether it's fear, like that's kind of the mainstream model, right? Oh, isn't this silly?
Yeah.
We've got this silly game where we're all playing blah laugh laugh, or everybody's dead and dying, and there's more dead and death and fear, and don't go and be a human being because that might get you dead, right? Like there's stuff fear. But I guess, what are some practical things we can give people who are watching and listening? What are some really actionable steps they could take around looking more deeply at their digestive health if it hasn't been working for them, if they've had some problems or sensitivities or immune reactions? What are the things they can do? Look, there are probably the first thing I'd say is that if you've got chronic gut health problems, then you probably feel like you've gone through everything and done everything and nothing has worked. And so then we get into that mentality of, well, nothing has worked, therefore nothing will work. And we can come in with a mindset that I'm sort of willing to try because I don't want to give up yet, but I also have this core belief that perhaps no one can fix me. And so we can have that belief to begin with. I can't really be fixed. I'm a hard nut to crack. I'm a difficult case. And that in itself can put a bit, like the concrete shell around you, which means you can be dealing with the best practitioners in the world and they probably still can't help you while you hold on to that belief.
Yeah. So how great you can go, I asked for divine intervention with this practitioner, that they have this nugget of gold that I am aware of, that is the thing that can help me to that next step. There's always going to be like a little hook you can grab, even if they're, conventional mainstream practitioners who leaky gut, what's that? That's nothing, or whatever it is, but there'll be something that they could say that can take you to the next thing. So it's asking for that they be illumined.
Yes.
And just thinking, thank you for giving me that for giving me whatever I need right now, so I can move on to the next thing.
And the next thing I'd say is, if you have been seeing someone for a long time and you're not getting the results you want, please feel empowered to look elsewhere. Doesn't matter who the person is, doesn't matter how nice they are. They could be like the loveliest person, you enjoy going to see them just to have a chat. But if you're not getting the results you need, then ask to be referred on, or ask people in your network as well. Both you and I are big fans of referring, and I have, and you have people that, if I've got someone with complex digestive issues that are beyond my ability, then I'm referring them as soon as possible.
Get out of my office. No.
Or to whoever, to the person I know that, yes, this person can help that person. I have my mentor, I send him people because, that if someone says to me things like, oh, I'm thinking of going to see an endocrinologist, I'm sure there's really good endocrinologists out there, but I kind of think he's better than them. So big call. That was terrible.
No, I have an integrative doctor who's also a healer and trained in biobalance. So she's got the nutrition. She works with a naturopath. She's a healer. She's a doctor. She's like the full package. It's like you need to see her, because it's not just digestion. There's the anxiety. There's the depression. Because when, again, our survival is in question, it's going to lead to some other mental things, or mental functioning will cause the physical things. Who knows? Chicken or egg. But it's like, here, go see her and report back, because we need to work together. And other actionable things.
Well, just before we go, something you said there about survival patterns. So something that we work with in kinesiology is what we call deep stress survival emotions. So those emotions, and they can run in what we call reactive feedback loops. So it's kind of like, I don't know, anyone that has like an emotional pattern that the moment something comes up that makes them happy or makes them sad, there's a thing that they say or a thing that they do, and it's like you can almost predict what they're going to say or do. Yeah. And so we can have those on the inside as well. We can have, oh my God, I think I'm fear of my life being lost, and that can trigger off an emotion or a series, a cascade of emotions, and that's what we call deep survival stress emotions. You may not even know you're experiencing it, but it's in there and it's running like a loop, and that sets off all of your energetic systems, and everything goes into stress chaos.
Yeah, we have thought forms, so it's just the story wrapped with the emotion with the story.
The emotion and the story, and it gets into a loop.
Trapped.
Runs on the track, and we kind of forget how to unloop ourselves from the train track.
Yeah, so you just need that just to derail a little while. That's good.
And so that's where things like lifestyle matter, right? So we look at energetic, we look at feeling empowered, we look at lifestyle. There's so much stuff we can do on a lifestyle level on top of what we're eating, you know, so taking time out, not programming every moment of your day.
Yes, but not to try to make all these changes at once, because you'll get overwhelmed and you're setting yourself up for failure, which will just bring you back to where you already are. So it's just like one step, take that one step and assess. How did this help me? But don't give up, because it takes some while. It takes some time for real change to see the benefits of that new action. And you often feel tired or resistant or angry or cranky as you're putting your body through this change. So it's like, don't give up.
I actually remember when I was going through I'm on this mission to heal this condition, and I'm absolutely not going to live with this for the rest of my life. No friggin' way. And so, but what that did do for a little while was put me into a stress pattern, because I was like, I can't run out of this supplement or that supplement, and I'm my yoga class, and I must not miss that appointment with my acupuncturist, and you know,
different kind of anxiety.
It's like created this regimented pattern, and then to add insult to injury, literally, I then ended up tearing one of my calf muscle tendons twice.
Overdoing it?
Oh, well, because also the overproduction of the cortisol loosens up the joints, fills the joints up with the cortisol, and injury becomes more prevalent. So, and so there I was, limping, exhausted, and trying to get to my supplement shop.
So another actionable thing that comes to mind is in your environment. So if you're on, Facebook posts, right, and you notice someone is having a bad day and they put that out there, what is your first impulse? Is your impulse to go, it's okay, everything's going to be okay, it's just a phase, it'll pass? Like, you have this thing where you feel like they need to move out of that emotion quickly versus just allowing to be in their emotion? Or if you have a child and they're sad, you're like, what's wrong? And you're trying to help them become happy. So it's like, why do we do that? Is it because we're uncomfortable with that expression? And so that is something within us we need to look a bit more into. Why am I uncomfortable with her sadness or his sadness that I feel I need to get them out of it to be a good mom or whatever. Just let them be sad and let them be okay with sad, because then I don't perpetuate the emotional kind of reluctance with my own children that they just go, I'm sad. I don't have a story about it. I'm just feeling sad. Do you have a story when you're feeling happy? No. So why should I justify sad? Let me be sad. I'll get over it. And they do, and they move on, and they have a whole other experience 2 minutes later. So there's that. So it's noticing our reactions to other people's feelings. And do we want to rush in and do something about it? Or are we okay to just let it be there and just see what happens without intervening? What happens? So they'll be okay. They're not going to die from that emotion. They'll be okay. I'll be okay. We're all okay.
In all of this, the creating of space and the holding of space for your, whatever it is that you need to do, and knowing that not every moment needs to be filled, and knowing that not everything has to be resolved like that. And so actionable steps, you can actually get, army load, truckloads full of things you should do. You should do this, and you should do that, and you should do this. And coming back to something you said earlier, just because something's worked for somebody else does not mean that it's going to work for you. So, there are generally some rules of thumb when it comes to health and well-being that will work for everyone, but it's not like everybody needs the same supplements or the same foods.
Some of them can be really toxic. They can be really doing the opposite to your body. Like, a lot of people are getting genetic tests to look at their nutritional deficiencies, and the genomics experts don't even understand it. So how the hell would we understand it?
Yeah.
So just because you find out a gene is mutated doesn't mean that your body is, I need to take the supplement to make up for it. You might find that it's actually toxic for you. So don't just trust that one mutation, because genes don't work in isolation. They interact with each other. There's tons of biochemical pathways. If one doesn't work, there'll be another that compensates. So unless you can see the entire signaling system, don't just rely on that gene to give you that information. Just use it as a guide. This is what I might be dealing with, and I need to explore what that's about. But it's not the thing that's going to be the solution. But we go there because, we need that. We need some hope, a sign that we're on track to getting better or recovering or coming back to our natural state. But, exercise caution with all the information that you receive, and be selective about the information that you put in your body.
Yes.
And that you want to take in.
Yes.
When I look at Facebook, there's things that I can't filter out. It's just there. So it's like, do I want to see that? Why do I want to see that? Maybe I need it to help me in some way, but no, I don't need to see that. If it's really negative, that's not helping me. I know this shit is around. I don't need to see it. I just, that's not what drives me. So be selective about the information you put in your body, the people you have in your life, the people you surround yourself with. Are they really nourishing you when you're around them? Or are they taking from you? Or there's something else. There's an exchange that's not equal, and it leaves you feeling less powerful or less great.
Or like a bit depleted. So there are sometimes when we don't have good boundaries, or when there are people who kind of are, a little bit more prone to manipulating others, and therefore they look for people without good boundaries.
And they don't do it consciously. That's just
they just do it.
The energetic play happening.
That's what's been their role model of life has given them that. But then somebody leaves your house, and you're a bit like, oh, I'm really glad that person's gone, and I'm tired, and I want to go to bed.
Maybe I need to rethink spending time with them, or how I spend time with them. Maybe in a crowded place.
Or what I'm saying yes to.
Yeah. Just like, I remember watching Buffy the Vampire Slayer, and, the rule, don't let any vampires in your house, because once they're in, they're in. So you can have a boundary and say, no, you can't come in, or I'll meet you out there with lots of people.
Or like when they did let, Angel in, and then he turned bad. And then
that was it. They were screwed.
Then they had to do like magic spells to figure out how to keep him out again. So.
I think we're moving off topic. Anyway, so those are a few actionable things, and also get a good either holistic nutritional consultant, an integrative doctor who's trained in functional medicine or biobalance, who also is all up with energy. I think that's a helpful little asset. Or Ayurvedic doctors, the real deals, traditional Chinese medicine doctors, they know their shit.
Yes.
So, and the ones who are models of what they teach and what they do, they don't have the gut issues, or they know how to manage it without being, beaten by it. So those are the people you want to be seeking out as part of your support team, as well as recognizing how you are with your emotions, and then getting support. If this is something you're really interested in, you want to go deeper, then you find someone who does a lot of work, going deeper into yourself and pulling out the gold.
Conscious awareness of who you are. That was certainly a huge shift that I went through last year, was, with a lot of my own spiritual development work. I've mentioned this to a few of my clients as well. It's like, we don't actually realize how much of what we choose to eat and put in our mouth is related to how we feel or how we don't want to feel. And so when I went through this massive change, suddenly I was actually talking to my mentor going, I think there's something wrong with me. Like, I'm only really wanting to eat, one, maybe 1.5, maybe 2 meals a day. That's like weird, right? And actually what was happening was my body was readjusting, because all of that emotional component of eating went away.
Yeah.
And I was like, wow, it's like this whole tidal wave came through and pushed it away. And suddenly, it's not that I was not eating because of restriction or trying to lose weight. It was like, but no, I just don't really need it.
Yeah.
I don't need that food to fulfill anything.
Yeah. Wouldn't it be great to just be able to live off prana?
Oh my God.
But then I'd miss chocolate and coffee. So
yeah, I can't do
I
without
could do both. Maybe I could do both.
I can live without the chocolate, but not the coffee. Need the coffee.
Yeah, it's all right. Digestive's okay. Anyway, so I think hopefully that was helpful and useful. And I think we both, I know I do a lot of work with emotions and helping that stuff come out and hold people while they go through some really deep place that they haven't been before, and they feel safe and held. And that's what they need to just realize it's not so scary. It's just really uncomfortable, but it's not scary. And, you know, we hear so many stories of people experiencing, you know, enlightening moments, having gone through the worst pain possible. They face their fear about that pain, and they realize that it just can dissipate when you allow it. But don't do it alone if you haven't done it before, and do it with a really skilled practitioner who knows what they're doing and who's done it before, who gets it done themselves. I've gone through so much of that, and it's not going to end. But it's great because you feel more empowered. You feel like I can do this, and the benefits of that is that you get to experience levels of joy and bliss like just that you haven't before. So as you go through the negative yuckiness, not only are you helping your physical body with the right support, you're also able to expand into this like just a greater, you have more space and you get to experience more of your true nature, which is because it's not being held down by that gunk anymore. So you just go back into your blissful state. And it's real. It's not artificial. No drugs needed.
No drugs needed. And, you know, no like 20 kilos of whatever, ice cream or biscuits or any of those things. I mean, they're nice to have, but when we can enjoy them as a treat versus I kind of need all these things and wait, how is the packet already empty? I still need some more, you know.
Yeah, so bring more conscious eating and mindfulness into your life.
Correct. And then that actually assists you on a physical level as well as the emotional level. And as you said, creating more space and just a lot more freedom too. There's, you know,
that you become less restricted in what you can eat. So your freedoms, again, you can choose if you want to. I mean, some people fear going back to those old foods after they've gone through that freeing or that healing. But at least it's an option again. They don't have to fear, oh, if I had it accidentally, I'm going to suddenly have a reaction. That won't happen. So anyway, there's lots. It's a very big topic.
It's a huge topic. We could probably talk another half an hour.
Yeah, I could spend time just talking about the organelles in the cells and different things that they do. It's fun. Such a geek. We could just speak out.
And
just everything.
Transfer between cells, and you know, there's lots of cool stuff that we could talk about. But this is probably
yes. So much for our 10 minutes, huh?
So much for 10 minutes. We'll get better. We'll get better at it.
Just tell us what you want, people, and we'll talk about it.
And we'll try to contain it to shorter sound bites or something.
Yeah, it's all right. We don't have to.
Thank
you.
About Buffy too.
Yeah. She got a cameo. We love her. Good night. Thank you.
Good night, everybody. Thank you for listening. And yes, if there's something you'd love to hear us talk about, please let us know. We've got a bazillion things we can share with you. And we like talking to each other and we like sharing it with you. So
actually, we don't really care if you're here or not. We're just going to keep talking.
We're going to keep making them anyway. But, you know, we hope that you also benefit. And if there's, we'd love to hear your feedback as well.
Thank you.
Thank you, everybody. Lots of love. Happy digestion to you.
Happy guts. Happy Valentine's Day gut digestion to you.
Yes.
Love your guts. Love your guts.
We love your guts inside and out.
Good night.
Good night.